Hey everybody, welcome back to Breakfast with Bob from Challenge Miami. My name is Bob Abbott and we're brought to you by Challenge North America, City Bikes, Venito, the Challenge Athletes Foundation, Florida Dairy Farmers, and Wahoo. Our next guest, Nickie Luse, who is living in Dayton, Ohio. How does a soccer player end up being a professional triathlete? Nickie, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Bob? Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining us. So, soccer, was that the first love?
It was from probably the time I could start walking. I played from kindergarten all the way through college. So.
And University of Cincinnati?
Yep, University of Cincinnati.
And then it's one of those things, when you're playing a team sport, it's when you get towards the end of college, it's like, well, what do I do now? I got all this fitness. I got to do something with it. Yeah,
and I didn't want to end up on the other side of things and not fit. So it was like, oh, let's do a marathon with some friends. And then one thing turned into another, and I got a bike. And I had a friend that said, hey, what if we do an Ironman by the time we're 30? And now here I am.
Wait, how old were you when that bet was sort of tossed out there?
Late 20s.
Oh, okay. So you had a couple years.
About a year.
You had a year.
I had been dabbling in triathlon at that point, so.
Dabbling meaning you'd done a couple little sprints.
Yeah, I did some sprints.
Things
and
like that.
I had done a half at that point, but I had no clue what I was doing.
Yeah. So when did you get to the point where you felt like, oh, you know what? I think I'll dabble as a pro.
So I had a pretty good race that year. It would have been Ironman Florida, and I had gotten a coach because a friend said, well, if you guys are going to invest all this time, you better get a coach.
You better get a coach.
So there was a local coach who's still my coach today.
Oh, there you go.
And it went pretty well, and I really enjoyed it. And then I think I qualified for my pro card like 3 years later. So, yeah. It was kind of one of those, you've played that college sport, you've been competitive, so it was always, I wanted to.
The next.
Yeah.
You got it. What's
so
the next
when
challenge?
You can't, I have a hard time dabbling, I guess.
No.
When you've been in that competitive atmosphere.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And when I look at results, you know, when were you diagnosed with breast cancer?
I had just turned 38, so in 2018. So I had been racing. My first season as a professional was 2015.
Okay.
So it's my third season. So.
And so you're in your third season, and all of a sudden you find out you've got breast cancer. Mm-hmm. And obviously there's bigger fish than doing triathlon.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about what was facing you. That's pretty horrific.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had been dealt the cancer card with family members prior to this. So I had actually lost my mom in 2015.
Okay.
So it was still a little fresh, and then a routine doctor's appointment in my 30s, like everyone should do every year.
Right.
I just went. I was getting ready to go to Hawaii to train with a friend a couple weeks later, and I went in. She's like, I don't want you to slip through the cracks. And having a family history of cancer, I was like, tell me everything I need to do. I'm a nurse by trade. My background's in nursing.
Okay.
So I knew the importance from family, genetics, and that. And it was a whirlwind of a few days. And before I knew it, a few days later, I'd had more tests than you could imagine. And then I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and probably 2 months later had surgery.
Wow. And as an athlete, who's somebody who's so in tune with your body, having your body change significantly and going through that, how hard was that?
You know, I just focused on what I could do.
Right.
And I got that card. They said it was the flip of a coin. It had nothing to do with my mom's cancer, genetics. So for me, I wanted to be healthy. I wanted whatever that looked like to get back to what I love doing, whether it be triathlon or my job, being able to spend time with family, whatever that meant, that's what I wanted. And so I actually opted for a double mastectomy. And as an athlete, it seemed like the best choice for me, physically, mentally. And I never second-guessed that decision. And here I am. Actually, on race day, it'll be 3 years to the day since I had surgery.
Really?
Yep. So it's pretty special when you get to come to a start line with some of the best athletes in triathlon. And I think back 3 years ago, what I was getting ready to do. It's a different kind of race, but both equally. I
think one a little more challenging.
Yeah, in different ways.
Yeah.
For sure. So.
What was the toughest part for you coming back from that? In realizing you still wanted to be a professional triathlete?
Honestly, one of the toughest parts was probably telling my friends and family, because we'd been through so much with my mom that I didn't want to have to tell people. I didn't want people to worry. The hardest part, I mean, you would think it was the surgery. It was the day-to-day, just the little things, you know. It wasn't my body changing. It wasn't, it was that, what will I get back to? And when can I expect that? But then you realize, like, you can't predict the future. So
no.
It was small steps. It was one day at a time. And I just had my sights set on what I could do that day. Some days it was a walk to the mailbox, and then it was a walk down the street, and then it was a walk around the block, and then it was like, friends, what can we do with you? And I'd say, I don't want to sit on the couch. I want you to go for a walk with me. So breaking it up into small pieces really helped me get through it.
You know, it's interesting. I think because you're an athlete and because you've done distance events, you know how to break things up into pieces. You know how to not look at a swim as 1.2 miles, but you look at it as, okay, I'm halfway to a turnaround. I'm halfway back. So you can make a positive out of everything. Do you think that that athletic background helped you deal with this?
Oh, tremendously, tremendously. From a perspective of almost like having a plan. And it's like, if I follow the plan,
you'll be okay.
And having a process, and knowing that things aren't easy. You know, I mean, as an athlete, you know, things don't come easily. Right. For most of us.
Well, and there's like you said, the process. You could be doing these great workouts every single day and see no progress, and then all of a sudden there's a big leap.
Yeah. And I just said, tell me what I can do, and whatever I can do, I'll do. You know, whether that's like lifting my arm 90 degrees or 10 degrees, you just let me know, and that's what I'll do. And I think being able to understand that things don't happen overnight. Right. You know? And I'd watched my mom, I think that was like, I say that's one of her last gifts to me, was teaching me what I needed, those tools to get through my own battle and or race, whatever you want to call it, and understanding to have that grit and that grace and that perspective of you can be your reaction to a unfortunate situation can always be positive if you want it to be. Yeah. And luckily I'm surrounded by family and friends that foster that belief too.
So I'm imagining there was a point where you realized, you know what, I think I can get back to racing again. You remember that?
I do. I think I thought it would be a little bit sooner than I thought, and I might have had bigger visions of that. But I had my surgery in March, and my first race back was Barrelman.
Which at Niagara Falls, John Salt's event.
He is a wonderful person, and he welcomed me with open arms to that first race back. And racing was wonderful.
Therapy.
Yeah, it was just doing what you love and knowing that I was healthy enough to do it.
Well, and being with people who shared that love.
Yeah.
Right? That's sort of our social group that we don't really talk about that much, is those people who are standing at the starting line with a big smile on their face because they get to do what they do.
Sure.
And you were one of those people again.
Yeah. I don't know that there was a day where I was like, oh, I can race. I do recall, though, one of the nurses that I worked real closely with said, you know, for a while it's going to occupy your brain space every single minute of every single day. And it did. And she said, there's a day where you'll have a moment where you won't think about it. And then there'll be a couple moments. And then you'll have days where you don't think about it. And I honestly can sit here today saying, there's not a day that goes by that I'm not thankful. But there are days that go by that that's not my first thought. Right. Or it doesn't occupy my thoughts that day. Yeah.
So when I look at 2019, right, Barrelman, you were second, Ironman Wisconsin 7th, Traverse City 14th, Steelhead 9th, Eagleman 3rd. It was like, okay, I can race again. I'm going to race every weekend.
I raced a lot that year. I had a couple rough spots, but Barrelman and Eagleman were probably two of my highlights that year. And Eagleman has a special place in my heart, as well as Barrelman, and having good races surrounded by very close family and friends at both those, having my coach there, my family, some great friends. Just
that's cool.
Still brings a big smile to my face.
And you were one of the fortunate few who got to race in 2020, because you did what, Campeche?
I did, yeah. I debated the whole day I was leaving to fly, because that's when the world was changing quite significantly.
Yep. You were wondering, can I get back?
Yeah. I was on the phone with my doctor. Should I go? With my family, should I go? And I did end up going, and
got 7th.
Yeah. It was a great experience. So I made it back home before
things changed
too much. So
On Friday, you are racing with basically the all-star team of all-star teams. You've got Lucy Charles and Paula Finley and Annie Hogg, and you name it, they're here.
I know, I'm not sure how I got in.
You're going to be on the starting line with those guys on the 3-year anniversary, right? It's 3-year anniversary of your surgery?
Yep, and which I would consider my day to
absolutely to celebrate.
I was cancer-free that day. So,
that is the coolest thing. I just love that. So happy anniversary.
Thank you.
It's going to be very special. Thank you for taking time.
Thank you for having me.
I love what's great about this sport is it brings everybody together, right? It is an equal opportunity abuser. It doesn't care, right? It doesn't care what you went through. It doesn't care what your history is. All it cares is get from point A to point B as fast as you can, which makes it pretty pure.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you again for taking time.
Thanks, Bob.
A pleasure. Again, Nickie Luse has been our guest. That is day 1 for Breakfast with Bob from Challenge Miami. My name is Bob Babbitt. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll catch you tomorrow. Take care.